Good afternoon, everyone. I am Joanne Bismonte. Today, we will tackle all about the communicative language teaching or CLT. When we say communicative language teaching or the communicative approach, it is an approach to language teaching that emphasizes interaction as both the means and the ultimate goal of study. It is also based on the idea that learning language successfully comes through having to communicate real communication. So when the learners are involved in real communication, their natural strategies for language acquisition will be used, and this will allow them to learn to use language. The communicative approach in language teaching is partly a response to criticism of Noam Chomsky against instructional linguistics. Chomsky has demonstrated that the current standard and structural theories of language are incapable of accounting for the fundamental characteristics of language. It is the creativity or the uniqueness of individual sentences. In 1972, Wilkins proposed a functional or communicative definition of language that could serve as a basis for developing communicative syllabuses for language teaching. Wilkins' contribution is an analysis of the communicative meaning that a language learner needs to understand and express. Wilkins described the two types of meaning. The first one is notional categories. It is the concepts such as time, sequence, quantity, location, and frequency. And the second one is the categories of communicative function. It is the requests, denials, offers, and compliance. Wilkins also revised and expanded his 1972 document into a book. It's called Notional Syllabuses Wilkins 1976, which has a significant impact on the development of communicative language teaching or the communicative approach. The terms notional functional approach and functional approach are also sometimes used.
Good day everyone, my name is Hanilin Grafil, and for today's video I will briefly discuss what is audiolingual method and what is communicative approach. So communicative approach is a language teaching that makes use of a real life situations that necessitates communications. So the teacher sets up a situation that students are likely to encounter in real life. Unlike in audiolingual method of language teaching, it relies on repetition and drills, while the communicative approach can leave students in suspense as to the outcome of class exercise, which will vary according to the reactions and responses. So communicative approach is the idea that learning language successfully comes through having to communicate real meaning. When learners are involved in real communication, their natural strategies for language acquisition will be used, and this will allow them to learn to use the language. So in audiolingualism, the student role should be guided by skilled training techniques in order to produce the correct answer. So basically, students' results depend on its way instructors will direct the lesson. At the beginning, students cannot always understand the meaning of learning materials. However, in audiolingualism, learners should repeat carefully all the information that is presented by a teacher, trying to imitate the instructor's intonation and pronunciation as closely as possible. So here in my screen, you will see the Finocchiario, ay no, sorry, Finocchiaro and Bromfit. They contrast the major distinctive features of the audiolingual method and the communicative approach according to their interpretation. So, have fun reading it.
The goal of language teaching is to develop what Himes referred to as communicative competence. In Himes' view, a person who acquires communicative competence acquires both knowledge and ability for language use with respect to number one, whether something is finally possible. It is knowing how to use language for a range of different purposes and functions. Number two, whether something is feasible by virtue of the means of implementation available. It is knowing how to vary use of language according to the settings and the participant. Number three, whether something is appropriate in relation to a context in which it is used and evaluated. It is knowing how to produce and understand different types of text. Number three, whether something is in fact done, actually performed in what it is doing details. It is knowing how to maintain communications despite having limitations in one's language knowledge. Halliday describes 7 basic functions that language perform for children learning their language. Number 1, the instrumental functions, using language to get things or to obtain goods in service. For example, I want. Number 2, the regulatory functions, using language to control behavior of others. Or to control behavior of other, example, do this. Number 3, interactional functions, using language to create interaction with others. For example, me and you. The personal language, using language to express personal feelings. For example, watch me. The heuristic functions, using language to learn and discover. For example, what's that? How to solve it. Number 4, imaginative function, using language to create a world of the imaginations. For example, let's pretend. There are representational functions, using language to communicate information. For example, I've got something to tell you.
So my topic is all about dimension communicative competence. In 1980, Cannell and Swain identified the dimension communicative competence. It is grammatical competence, sociolinguistic competence, discourse competence, and strategic competence. So first is grammatical competence. He refers to what Chomsky called linguistic competence in what Himes intends by what is formally possible. It is the domain of grammatical and lexical capacity. So grammatical competence defines as knowledge language stored in person minds. It is the ability to understand, express meaning by producing and recognizing well-formed phrases, sentences. And the second is social-linguistic competence, refers to understanding of the social context in which communication takes place, including rule relationship, the shared information of the participant, and the communicative purpose for their interaction. So, social-linguistic competence refers to the ability to use language that is appropriate to social context. It is also refers to the ability to select topics that are appropriate for a communicative event. And the third one is discourse competence, refers to the interpretation of individual message elements in terms of their interconnectedness and of how meaning is represented in relation to the entire discourse of text. So discourse competence, it is a pluringual ability that implies being able to handle sociocultural, pragmatic, and textual pieces of knowledge, and it is defined as the ability to encode and decode information using a foreign language and accordance with grammatical. And the last of dimension communicative competence is strategic competence, refers to the coping strategy that communicators employ to initiate, maintain, repair, and redirect communicator. So strategic competence is the ability to recognize and repair communication breakdowns before, during, or after they occur.
My topic is all about Finocchiaro and Bramfit provided a lesson outline for teaching the function, making a suggestion. Number 1. Presentation of a brief dialogue or several mini dialogues preceded by a motivation. This could be relating to the dialogue situations to the learners, probably community experiences, and the discussion of the functions and situations, such as people, rules, settings, and topic. Another example is the informality or formality of the language while the function and situations demands. Number 2, practice of each utterance of the dialogue segment to be presented that day. This could be the entire class repetition, half class, groups, and individuals, which are generally preceded by a model. If many dialogues are used, engage in a similar practice. Number 3, questions and answer based on the dialogue topics and situation itself. This question could be an inverted question. To turn these dialogues into inversion question and answer, the subject and verb in the sentence must be inverted. Number 4, questions and answers related to the student's personal experiences but centered around the dialogue theme. This could be an example of idea relating to the student's personal experiences and their exchange of that could be centered theme of dialogue. Number 5, study of the basic communicative expressions in the dialogue or one of the structures which exemplify the function. 5 several addition example of the communicative uses of the expressions or structures with familiar vocabulary in mini dialogues. We could use pictures, simple, real subject, or dramatization to clarify the meaning of the expression of structure. Number 6, learners' discovery of generalization of rules and underlying the functional expression or structure. This way, the learner could use the discovery, generalization, rules in making a dialogue underlying the functional expression and structure. Thank you.